When you first look at this painting, it doesn't ease you in. It doesn't give you time to adjust or to observe from a distance. It throws you straight into the moment. A man is being held down. His body is twisting, resisting, trying to escape. Two women lean over him, one gripping him with force, the other driving a blade into his neck. There is no hesitation in their movement, no uncertainty. Everything feels deliberate. And that's what makes it difficult to look away, because it doesn't feel like a story being told. It feels like something that is happening. And that immediacy is what separates this painting from so many others. This is Judith Beheading Holofernes, painted by Artemisia Gentileschi, and it's widely considered one of the most intense and uncompromising works of the Baroque period. But to understand why it feels this way, you have to look beyond the surface. You have to look at how it was made and who made it. Gentileschi was born into a world where art was dominated almost entirely by men. From a young age, she trained under her father, learning the technical foundations of painting, composition, light, and anatomy. But even with that access, recognition was not easily given. Her life was also marked by a deeply traumatic experience. She was assaulted by another artist, and the trial that followed forced her into public scrutiny in a way that was both invasive and humiliating. It's important to be careful here, not to reduce her work to her experiences, but at the same time, it's difficult to ignore the intensity that runs through her paintings. Because when you look at this piece, what stands out isn't just the violence, it's the control. The story itself comes from an ancient text, which I'll summarize for you. It goes like this. Judith is a widow living in a city under threat. An enemy general, Holofernes, has laid siege to her people. Instead of fleeing or surrendering, she chooses a different path. She enters his camp, earns his trust, and waits. And when the moment comes, when he is vulnerable, she acts. She kills him, and in doing so, saves her people. It is a story about courage, about strategy, but in Gentileschi's hands, it becomes something more. Technically, the painting is rooted in the Baroque style, particularly in its use of lights. The technique is known as chiaroscuro, the contrast between deep shadow and sharp illumination. But here, it's not just used for drama, it's used for focus. The background falls away into darkness, leaving only what matters: the arms, the faces, the moments of contact. Your attention is guided, almost forced toward the center of the action. And then there's the physicality of it. Nothing feels exaggerated. The bodies have weight. The resistance feels real. Holofernes is not passive. He's struggling, pushing back, trying to survive. That resistance makes the scene more intense, because it reminds you that this is not symbolic. It's a moment of force meeting force. Now compare this to earlier versions of the same story. In many paintings before this, Judith is shown as hesitant. Sometimes she looks away. Sometimes she appears almost detached, as if the act itself is something she's uncomfortable with. But here, that hesitation is gone. Judith is focused, direct, and completely present in the moment. She isn't reacting to what's happening. She is the one making it happen. And that shift changes the meaning of the entire scene, because now, the painting is no longer just about survival, it's about agency. It challenges the way power is usually portrayed, especially in arts from this period. Instead of being passive or secondary, Julie becomes the central force in the composition, and that makes the painting feel different, not just visually, but emotionally. There's also something else happening here. If you look closely, the two women are working together. One restrains, the other acts. There's coordination, purpose. It's not chaotic, it's controlled. And that control stands in contrast to Holofernes, whose movement is desperate and unstructured. That contrast between control and chaos adds another layer to the painting. It's not just about violence, it's about who has control in that moment. Over time, this painting has become one of the defining works associated with Gentileschi, not just because of its technical strength, but because of how boldly it represents its subjects. It has influenced discussions around art, gender, and perspective for centuries. Some see it as a personal expression, others see it as a powerful reinterpretation of a familiar story, and maybe it's both. What makes it last is that it doesn't simplify itself. It doesn't tell you exactly how to feel. It presents something intense, something uncomfortable, and leads you to sit with it, to question it, to interpret it, and that's where its real power lies. Not just in what it shows, but in how it makes you respond. Because when you step back and think about it, this isn't just a painting about a moment in history. It's about what happens when someone takes control in a situation where they're expecting not to. It's about action in the face of fear, clarity in the middle of chaos, and the kind of decision that can't be undone once it's made. And maybe that's why it stays with you. Not because of the violence alone, but because of what that violence represents. So when you look at this painting now, do you see it as a story of survival or something more personal? Let me know in the comments. I'd actually be curious to see how different people interpret this one. And if there's another painting you want me to break down like this, drop it below. Bye.